So, the stupid backup plan, or as the version, this is not the latest version is called the stupid backup plan. And this shows it's made by Paulo, even though this is actually my level. This is a level that got deleted when it was on my account, and I couldn't re-upload it immediately, so Paulo, also known as Federico, actually rebuilt the entire level for me and got it back uploaded again. So starting here, we have another mole coming from off the side of the screen, but this one is actually dangerous. We've had that in other levels and it was safer. And the track, well, the first troll apparently doesn't work, but the first troll is that if you... Yeah, that is not timed the same as in my version. The first troll is that you would jump for those P-switches to hit them up into the muncher, but then a P-switch gets hit and you get trapped in there, and then a fish drops on your head. But basically, right across, this gets triggered, or doesn't. What is happening here? How did that... Okay, I don't know what's happening, but... So you ride across, and then you try to go back, and it takes a different path, and that's because this clown car is covering the track, which actually looks like that. So the blue skull thing can actually just go straight across it, and then you can just go right across, and then go just down the curved track and out. Then this door is not even a place you're supposed to go at all. In the actual latest version, there would be like a muncher like this, which would be there just to prevent you from ever actually being able to go in this P-switch door. And that's important because it would be possible to get back here. You wouldn't want the player trying it anyway, but it's important that they absolutely cannot get into the door. And then you climb, and a cannon spawns right here, which shoots a 1-up onto a note block here. And if there's a note block behind a note block holding in a clown car like that with another note block below, when the top one gets pushed down, it will actually cause it to bounce up and out at you. And this thing I mentioned before, but it's reusing the same element multiple times to be funnier. And then it's like pick a path, and if you pick the left path, which I specifically put blocks, like coins here, so that you would be like, oh, I want to clear out that, open up that side, and then the thing comes up and blocks you in. And you hit this, and it's shiny as nothing, and you fall down, and it's the same pit. And the skull platform obviously wouldn't be there. So let's just go here with the P-switch being active. So if you come up, that thing fires a shell. It spawns a fireball there, and then there's this fish, which the purpose of the fish is so that it will fall and kill you here, but it can also hit you from up here. If you hit that block, it would spawn the muncher into it and drop the fish. When the P-switch runs out, the fish will fall, and it can hit you if you're right here. So that fish is very deadly. And that's a Z across. So the thing here is, it's a little bit difficult to Z across this like shell thing, but the point is that you get to this cannon, and then the next one looks like it's gonna do the same thing, but it's actually a red cannon layered behind there, which means that it can fire a boo out way faster than it would otherwise be able to do. And then, if you stand here, you die. And what causes that to go up is actually the shellment from this launcher hitting this block and causing the red cannon to, since the cannons are inside each other, one goes on top of the other. And then there's this. So you have a P-switch door here, a block that you would maybe think has a P-switch and it just doesn't, you can't get in the door, and then a cannon that you have to ride down and it would just fall otherwise. And the entire purpose, all of this is designed for this setup right here. And what this setup essentially does, so where can I play this from? Oh, that's why the piece was moved properly. So I'm gonna play it from here. So if you do this, and then ride this down, and then jump off, and move, you see this. So 3 moles, it looks like you need to hit the blocks below the moles to move the cannons down. You can see that they won't fall all the way down because of the semi-solid. And except that this one will like glitch, teleport straight down and block you in here, and then this one has the fireball that you need as an anti-soft lock. You actually could soft lock in here because using something that can despawn as an anti-soft lock usually leads to it being a soft lock in some way, but it's before the first checkpoint anyway, so it's fine. Then if you actually, instead of doing that, you may, I don't think anyone has tried this yet playing the level, but you may notice this, and it's actually possible to get through it like that, and then you're in here, and it's wrong. And there's actually a fake pipe right there that will prevent you from going that way. And then we get here. This is so there's this block on the left, and then there's a checkpoint over there. And if you hit this block, it bounces off the spring, triggers that, and gives you boos to die on. The reason this block is here is actually to give a purpose to this spring, which we'll talk about later, but the other thing is if you just jump, okay, not like that, but if you just jump, that happens. There's a Kaizo block, and so the idea is jump, hit the Kaizo block, and then you're supposed to like come back and just jump and just stop. You're supposed to jump and just not hit the Kaizo block. But the thing about that is that that means that the way you get trolled just jumping there is pretty much the same as the way you dodge the troll, which is just jumping there and not hitting the thing. It's basically the same thing that you do, and that's a problem because it's too similar, which means that once you hit this, you're probably not that likely to try to jump and dodge it. You're gonna look for a completely different way past this section, which there isn't one, so it would just cause problems. And actually, Carl played this level, and on this section, he didn't dodge it by just hitting the Kaizo block. He actually like went back here, got the shellment, and damage boosted off the note block or some crazy thing like that, which is completely cheese and not intended. And that's another thing that's also later in this level has the same kind of problem. So, spawning at the checkpoint. If you were holding right when you're at the checkpoint, you'll end up in this pipe. And you don't want to be in this pipe. This is not a nice pipe. Basically, the idea behind that is that I noticed in myself playing, a thing I often carelessly did was when I would spawn at a checkpoint, you just mindlessly hold right. But here, if you were doing that, you would end up in the death room. So it's kind of a dumb troll, but also like taking advantage of something that you just mindlessly do. And then there's this. Z, Z. And if you actually dodge the saws, you get punished. So you actually just want to get hit and go through. And then there's this. This is just a... The idea here is that you see the one way, which is a common thing people do to be like, aha, the Thwomp doesn't go back up because of the one way. But you would see the one way, and then the thing you often do is go past and stop right after it, which this setup, since it bounces the munchers out, punishes you for doing that. And then there's this P-switch. That's probably picking up in the mic, but I'm going to keep going anyway. Alright, so you're here. You don't jump directly on the P-switch, because those are P-switch blocks. And I'm going to show something. I originally had a dev exit where there were hidden blocks up there that you would have to throw the P-switch at. Now they're fish. So that was something Paulo changed, or Federico changed. He made my old dev exit a troll. So that only I would get trolled by it, but I didn't. Alright, so then you get here. And there's this donut which does nothing, because you can jump at it and die, and it's not anything. So the intended troll in this section is you would do not that. I need to do this. You would do that. And I've realized since watching multiple people play this, no one is going to do that. It's actually kind of weird and interesting that throwing this P-switch up there triggers both the P-switch and the POW block. The only thing up here is a piranha, so I don't know how that happens, but you throw it up at the POWs, and it hits the POWs and the P-switch, and doesn't let you in the pipe, but it does let you go to the right. So, like, I don't know why I ever stuck with this troll, because no one was ever going to fall for this troll, but I did, and it wasn't so terrible. But then the actual thing is you could just take the P-switch over here and just go. So you would go, and if you don't spin jump on that guy, he'll destroy your next platform. And you can go down here and be sad. I don't know why Federico added this. It just seems like a nothing. But I guess it's kind of fun. It was funny when Carl played it, but it's not really a troll. So you hit this. And then here's something. So you could go in that pipe, but you might see this pipe and want to try going into it. And this is another thing I think I've mentioned before. So this pipe, I could have just had like the blocks down here not be solid and you just fall and die. That would serve this basically the same purpose. But there's two reasons that I made them actually solid blocks. First of all, if you're here without the P-switch, you can see it. You can see it from here, which means that when you get to that point, you're more likely to try it. And also, it's so that I have this wrong sound effect and this muncher that falls down into that place to get across to the player that not only did you try something and it wasn't right, you tried something, I knew you would try that, and now you're dead because that was an actual intended troll of the level to trick you into doing that and then kill you for it, which is an important thing to always do. So then we get to this section, and this is basically focused around setup up here. So the P-switch would be running out, and then when it runs out, you ride this, and those boos fall down onto this part, and then the spring flies out to the right really fast and hits you, which is a really interesting mechanic, but it's effectively the same as just something else hitting you, but it's more fun that a super speed flying spring falls from here and then shoots out at you, and it almost looks like it shoots out from the boos. So it's just using a more interesting mechanic than normal to just stop you from getting into that door, because that's just a door. And then you land, and then you come here. I'm gonna actually come from over here. So you don't do that. You come from the side, and as that thing is moving, a mole shooting out will actually bounce off the spring and fly at you. And then you'll be here, and that note block does not look trustworthy. And there's actually the one up there actually falls down and lands on it, and that's kind of like to make you distrust it even more, because you're supposed to see that one up and be like, I don't want anything to do with that, and then you would try to jump and not get the one ups and dodge it. But actually you wanted to stay on that note block multiple times to get the fire flower. And if you're just over there, you can just fall in the pit. But the thing about this is that it's a great troll. It doesn't really give you an indication that. So what you're supposed to do after getting the fire flower is damage boost and come up here. But you can't see that this is an area. Which kind of turned out to be a bit of a thing. This level had multiple parts of this level that turned out to be a bit hard to figure out for people. So if you come up here and you still have a mushroom, you're dead. So what you want to do is actually get hit twice. So you have to stand here, get hit again, then come up. Okay, so here's a pretty great troll. So that cannon is there to make you rush when you get these POWs, because it's actually 2 POWs, and if you throw the first of the POWs, it will spawn a muncher, and then there's 2 POWs. If you just run into it, you'll get stopped and get hit by the cannonball. If you throw the first one, you'll spawn a muncher. You're supposed to place the first one and then go. And then there's a little bit of a thing here. This is a shiny block, but if you miss, there's fish blocks. And that's kind of the little joke here, is that the block here is just a safe coin block, but if you miss hitting the block, you'll hit those, and you'll hit the other blocks with the fish, and you'll die. So you actually want to get at least 1 POW through here. You need to get at least 1 POW through that section, which you could get through. You could live through that with 0 POWs by throwing both of them. Because if you throw the first one and kill the muncher, you could technically get through, but you wouldn't be able to get into this door. And you need to get into this door. So then you're here. And the first time you come there, you might have a POW. And if you have a POW, you can see that you can kill that muncher. But you don't want to do that, because it's death. That's a semi-solid. So throwing the POW is wrong. Throwing the POW is supposed to be entirely wrong. And if you go here, what happens is you'll try to inch down and you'll try to go to the side and you hit that spring and get killed. The actual right solution is to do not that, not climb into the muncher. The actual correct intended solution is to do that. It's to do the same thing as Get You Trolled, except just do it a little better. Just like don't hit the spring. Which is a problem because that's way too similar to the thing that gets you trolled. And this is another part where if you watch Carl play this level, what he does to get through this section is like completely different. So you would take this. And what Carl does to beat this is not that, not throw the POW standing there. My run button doesn't work. So jump, do that, and do that. And that's how Carl did this section when he played. That's actually totally cheese. What you're supposed to do is just climb under it, because you can go in between the spring and the muncher by climbing. But it's too similar to the right solution, so no one's gonna continue trying it. It's also kind of hard to do that. So that's a thing I've learned from this level now. Alright, and then this, you can't actually hit a block by just climbing into it, and I also just put a fireball to kill you. Right, so this next troll. So there's a thwomp here and another thwomp there. That thwomp has obvious stuff behind it. So the intended troll is that you would jump here and then do that. Get hit by the stuff. So that you distrust the stuff on the second thwomp and then get trolled by the mole hitting the P-switch. Most people didn't get hit by that. I'm just moving on to this next section. So then that... Okay, so the checkpoint is behind that thwomp, and you can actually see now that what's behind there is a P-switch and 3 1-ups. The 1-ups are all just there to make you see that there's stuff behind it and not trust it. And the P-switch is there for the mole to hit when the mole lands on it, and to destroy this left thwomp. It does something else too, but that's it. And then there's the star run. The famous star run, and also the pipe with the cannons. It's like Vine. People often do vines with the cannons that come on screen, but I also added a pipe there to just look like a pipe. But you can't go in the pipe, it's just to get you shot with cannons. So here's the star run. So you go here, and you get hit by a spring into this. Which is fun. If you go back speed, you'll get hit by that spring into this little box. You can also run in from the left side. And then, for some reason, usually holding left against the wall won't let you into a 1-block gap like that. But with a star going against spikes, the way this is set up, you actually will land on this little ledge, which forces you to stop here and lets you see that checkpoint. Which you do need to collect. You can't actually play through the entire level without the checkpoint. Because after the star run, you'll get to this portion. And then you'll get curious what the spring is, and it's just a very slow coming mole to bounce into you. And then you get to this. So this is just, hey, you hope you brought a P-switch. Get out, and then yeah, so I shouldn't have a mushroom right now, but yeah, so you come here, and you actually need to be carrying this P-switch. That's bad. So you have to have a P-switch in this, you have to be carrying the P-switch here to get in the door. And the great thing about this is that you'll likely only have a P-switch like you won't have the P-switch the first time you get here and you spin jump across this, but if you do have the P-switch, what you'll probably do is take it and do this, which would be bad because throwing the P-switch up because you have to up throw to spin with an item, so you have to do an up throw into that block and spawn the muncher. What you actually want to do is do what the arrow says and throw it at the spring, which then shows you what the spring was for and lets you get into this door. And then we have another troll that I really like. Yeah, there's a Yoshi behind that, and if you just jump for it, you knock the Yoshi into the pit. The idea is that you would try and jump straight across and get the mushroom as you go. And however any way you jump that isn't like that is probably gonna get rid of your Yoshi. And then it just say Z, and you see up here, but you don't want it to, you want to actually bounce off the saw. And then saw. And then the idea is that you would grab that POW and just, not that, you just throw it, and then it would leave you, and you would be screwed at this point. But no one was dumb enough to actually get trolled like that. Because of this is up here so that you can hit the POW. This is here for ease of actually using the POW. But since it was so obvious that it's up here, people didn't get trolled by it, really. They just did that right away. So then we get to this section. And this is like, so you have Yoshi, it looks like you need to jump off of Yoshi to get up there. So you go here, that jump is hard. Should be like that, really. But the idea is that you get Yoshi. Not like that. Do the section, get this, go up here, get that. Hit the POW. And then you jump off Yoshi. And you might have seen just for a second, Yoshi doesn't die. You can just go. You need Yoshi to get rid of this Wiggler, and Yoshi just kinda doesn't. And Yoshi doesn't fall down. And what you really do is you just take Yoshi. I'm gonna put one right here because it's a good spot. And you just walk down here. And you can get out. And you can eat the Wiggler and you can get out. And then I need to get myself a mushroom for this to work right. So at this point, this is like a damage boost, lose your Yoshi thing, but what's about it is that it looks like you can just damage boost the Yoshi into that spot and then get on him again. But if you go in here with Yoshi, you die. And that's because what's under this saw is a note block. And when Yoshi goes under a note block, he will actually trigger it. And it just puts a winged P-switch right up into that muncher. Which causes the entire floor to go out and you die. So then you come up here, and it's like, go in the pipe. This is great because this is one of the few trolls that Federico actually like changed a bunch. So that vine up there is a troll, so we're just gonna go up here. But that left stuff looks suspicious, so you might try this vine. And it spits out a spring and does that. And that's great because originally it didn't have any of this weird looking suspicious stuff on the left. Okay, so you just go in this pipe. And you can't come in here with the P-switch active. And then there's this. So this looks a little bit weird. And if you look at that third one, it kind of looks like a thing that would kill you. It would put you through the wall and kill you. But the second one does that. It shoots you through the wall. It only works if you run in at a specific speed, which is why this setup is kind of weird like this. And it also needs the ceiling and all of this other stuff. Basically everything right here is required for this setup to launch you into this checkpoint. When Carl played this, he actually managed. It actually just happened that he shot out of this at the same time as this muncher fell down, so he hit it the first time, and then the second time getting launched through, it actually got to the checkpoint. But it's basically just a CPU1 contraption that shoot you through a wall into CPU1. And actually, this level got deleted like a bunch of times. And I think it was mainly because of this setup right here that got the level deleted. And then you come up here, and it says CPU1, that little pit. So, and then there's an off-screen Thwomp. Thwomp's actually off the top of the level here, because the muncher exists to put the Thwomp up there, and that's also why the CPU1 text is here, so that the 1 can be used to put the Thwomp off screen. Like that. And that pit actually it just leads straight back to the checkpoint. The fire flower won't help you, and you'll just die. So where you actually want to go is up here. And this setup is changed a bit. This setup is changed from the way I originally had it set up, and it's actually, I think, a bit worse. But it wasn't that good to begin with, so this is basically just you lead the mold down, and then the mold jumps up at you, but it's not that great because it's not set up in a way to actually hit you. And then you'll see this top area, and you might not want to try the door, because there's a door that leads to checkpoint 1. So you might want to try going up there and going to the pipe, but you can't do that. So you go in this door. And the troll is if you go over there, a muncher will fly out and will fly out to the right and hit you. And this troll is interesting because it's it's only interesting in the way that it's blatantly stolen from another level. I believe it was a collab between a Buckaroo and Hack-a-Cat that not many people played. So I stole the best troll from it because that was a good idea. Right, so then you get this, and you see a vine up there and a thing, and you just... And if you press up and hold it for a second, you have to hold up for a second. If you just tap it, you won't go in. But a cannon will spawn and put you in that door. Which... is the best, which is a troll. That's a thing, yes. It puts you in the door. This troll actually wasn't that good at actually putting people in the door, but it's still a neat thing, so I decided to leave it in here. So then there's a mole. 1, 2, and that thing goes up at you. This is a trick that's been used multiple times to put a cannon up at you. This last little section is actually kind of a couple of reused old trolls, but yeah, so jump off this mole and there's actually a platform here you can stand on. And if you just jump, there's a Kaizo block and you get hit by that again. And if you go on top of the Kaizo block, there's a fish. And you die because you don't know how to do it. Why can I not today? So you hit that and you go across. And if you happen to miss the goal, you hit one of these springs and end up down here. And it says it's wrong because it is. And you go in this pipe, and it leads back to this don't room, which is a thing I always do with the room that says don't, and it's a death room. There's 3 pipes leading here, and I really like the extra detail that Federico added. There's these 3 doors. You can't actually enter the room through any of these doors, and 2 of them just lead to each other. But then it looks like there's like a million paths leading to that room, and it's kind of great. And actually, I guess the last thing about this level, Carl, is that it does have a dev exit. So I showed this earlier. These blocks used to be a dev exit, and now they're not. And also this stuff over here used to be part of the dev exit, but now it's not. And the dev exit is now like some way of getting up here. I'm not entirely sure how to do it because it's not mine, but yeah, the reason there's a dev exit is because of this checkpoint setup. So you need to carry that P-switch to get through the door over there, which means you need to spawn at the checkpoint and have the thwomp not be there, because anytime you come from the left over here, this beetle will destroy your block and let this thwomp spawn. But if you spawn from the checkpoint, there is no thwomp, and you can get the P-switch and actually go on the path forward. And that's why there's a dev exit. It's only there because you need the P-switch. That's pretty much it. That's the level. And the level was originally called the stupid finale, but then it got deleted, so I changed it and then continued the series afterward. So that's fun.